Hello, alrighty guys, welcome back to another session of daily recaps. And today's date is February 20th. It is a Friday. I took one trade today. It was an NQ long. It was this guy. I was just marking it out on YM. I didn't take YM's one, but it was this NQ long and it was a scaled in position. The way I did it was basically the entry was this, right? So CISD, push up, range low. This is the basic fucking thing, right? Range low, sweep, 930, reversal, expansion away. I did want originally, I wanted to try to trade YM down lower, but obviously market stopped wanting to go there. You know what I mean? So it's like, fuck, you gotta react to it. Are we going down to this low anymore? No, definitely not, right? So what are we gonna go and look at? I seen the range low here on NQ. We'll drop into it later on, but just basic ideas. Range low, expansion away, hits a relevant high, retracement back down, 15-minute SMT fill. From that 15-minute SMT fill, 10 o'clock does open low, goes up, and then we do have that new 15-minute open. With this new 15-minute open, sets the low of a new 15-minute, and it also sets SMT in between these levels like this, or whatever, some shit like that. Whatever the case may be. Sweeps out this level. Wait, right there, sorry. And then we do have that strong displacement through it. Once I had this 3-minute OB, I entered on my first position as this on that 3-minute push. I don't want to enter all the way up here because I don't want to go and shoot past this high. Retap me in, knowing that my TP is going to be like a little bit large now for 2R. I tapped me in and I was looking for a scale in position so that way I can get my 2R to this high. What do we get? Market does go down lower into here. I marked out the CISD because I wanted, if candle was going to close beneath the CISD, I would have closed out my position because that would be an invalidation to my trade ideal, as it would have swept out this high, right? As it would have swept out this high and then closure beneath here, I would have been out of my position, and then you just cut off for a half R loss from there. But with that being said, retap here, looking for 2R of my original position. Then the new 15-minute opens, 15-minute opens low into these levels. Once you get this open low, as you can tell, we get hit with what, another phase of price on the 1-minute accumulation, manipulation. The 15-minute flips inside out. Once I get this flip inside out here, CISD, I enter in with another position as like this. That brings my stop loss upwards, and that's off of this 3-minute closure. So you have that 3-minute closure, I enter right there, and this is now telling me what, that I can go and put my stops up to here as that scaled in position. Now that brings my stop loss up. My average fill is about the same still, but it can bring, now I can bring my stop loss upwards. And with this all being said, where's my stop loss at? A 15-minute candle. So this is your 15C2, SMTC2 anyway, as you can tell here, right? So you got this SMTC2, SMT fill, and then we're looking to catch this candle upwards to 2R, which is right there, and then my TP was only up to 2R. So a little bit more difficult on the entry style, but very obvious on the draw in itself, going from this range low, reversal off, back up to range highs, which is what, low resistance liquidity. So let's go over the day now and talk about it from the top down of everything that was included in this entire thought process, right? So with this being said, yeah, so let's do this. So taking a look here on the daily time frame, going over like my original idea. I was not bullish coming into the day. I'm not gonna front about that. I was bearish on YM. As you can tell, I wanted to go down to these range lows, going from range high to range low. Super obvious internal external type model here on the daily time frame. So you got this IRL, ERL, and then as you can tell, just basing it off of the weekly opening price, what is happening on the weekly opening price? Weekly does open up high, sets the high outside of a gap. How do we like to confirm gaps? Hold on. How do we like to confirm gaps is with swing formation. So trading that C2, looking for C3, and then I'm looking for what? C4 to complete the model for the week. And my original draw on liquidity was to those lows, and that's kind of a big reason why I wanted to shoot down lower, right? So here's your you want to go and trade from the 50% of that previous day's candle. And the same kind of goes with NQ as well. As NQ, we wanted to form this high here outside of this internal and then pushing downwards because we were ultimately in bearish order flow on the higher time frame as well. Well, YM is fucking bullish, but nonetheless, this model here is what we're trying to trade, range high to range low, and that's kind of why I was leaning more on the bearish end. And then now I'm taking a look at daily profile wise as well, just for us to get, it's very obvious that we're going to this fucking low, you know what I mean? But I do want to take notice that we are sweeping out into this level here, which is my tap into relevant. What can happen after you tap into a relevant level is a different phase in price. So with this being said, I'm looking at my intraday profile on the 4-hour time frame. What did the intraday profile show me is that we had 6, 10, 18, 6, 10, and I'm still taking it all into consideration that this part right here, when we're looking at relative levels, we could see that this level on NQ is very relative in terms of the next one. And if there was going to be considered a bouncing point for NQ, where are we going to go back up to? Range highs, going from this range low up to range high. So this is your overall intraday type profile where you see the accumulation, manipulation, 6 a.m. C2, looking for 10 a.m. C3. That's all that was. Where are we targeting to? All of these highs going from range low back up to range high. That was the basic logic for NQ, but we're still talking about YM because my original bias was for me to be bearish here. We do see the high of day getting set. This was my assumed high of day within that 2 o'clock candle. There was also SMT in between these swing formations like this, as NQ, the stronger asset, did set this SMT and did set this SMT, and then NQ went and ripped down lower. And with the NQ rip down to the downside, that was telling me that what the asset setting the manipulation is reversing price. So if the asset setting the manipulation is reversing price, then the weaker asset here should be able to fucking continue down to at least minimal this low, which is a failure swing. With that being said, 2 a.m. C2, looking for a 6 a.m. C3, and then we do see us have a 1 hour model here outside of this gap. So the expansion happened in 2 a.m. This is where my eyes did immediately flow to, okay, so expansion has happened in the overnight session and we are very low in the range and we have just tapped into relevant levels coming into the morning. What do I want to wait for? A push back up into the range and then a different phase to push us back down. So with that being said, I waited for that different phase to happen, and this is just coming into market open now. What has happened on 9:30? As you can tell, 9:30 does go and so 9:30 does go and tap us into this level. Once 9:30 taps us into this level, I'm looking for what? A different phase. Do we ever get it? No. So what do? We accumulate right here. So with this accumulation, I waited. Oh shit! Excuse me. My bad. I waited for the manipulation here, and then I wanted to see 10 a.m. open high with a 15-minute model. Right there, this was my original idea, and then push down to all of this low resistance, and then ultimately the relative low that's located down there, maybe even sweeping out this high that was located to the left because this is relevant. But what does happen at 10 a.m.? It rips upwards. So with that 10 a.m. rip fucking straight upwards, I'm like, okay, my bias is definitely not bearish anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go and battle this fucking pump up. What am I reading now? Like, what is my adjustment now? My adjustment is telling me that, okay, cool. So YM obviously not going down to these lows. We ripped higher, so it kind of disrespected my entire bias. I'm not going to go and battle it. What am I going to adjust to is like, what is NQ doing? Okay, so NQ tells me what? We hit a relevant level at 9:30. 9:30 reverses price. We expand away from it. So if we're going to expand away from it, this is telling me that, okay, these highs, fake highs, and then now we're seeing what? The range low to range high type profile as we've seen on the 15-minute time frame and the 4-hour time. This is going on the 4-hour, right? So back to the 4-hour time frame, I'm reading what? Range low, range high, low resistance, sweeping of this level, 9:30 reversal, 6 a.m. C2, looking for a 10 a.m. C3. That's all it was, right? Then I'm looking at this 9 o'clock C2, looking for 10 a.m. C3. 30-minute chart, I'm looking at a 9:30 C2, 10 a.m. C3 and 4, whatever the case may be. So now with this all being said, because we expanded already into a relevant level, what do I want to wait for? A different phase in price to push us back into the range, so that way I can go and trade away from a protected level. So 10 a.m. does rip straight up into this relative level. Now I'm not just going to enter right here because it doesn't make sense. These lows are no longer protected the moment that that high got impacted. What is it open within this process? Is a 15-minute gap. When I miss the driver, what do I like to wait for? A 15-minute pullback. So we never get the 15-minute pullback here on NQ. However, we do get it on ES and YM, as YM has pushed us into this 15-minute SMT fill, and ES doesn't have a gap, but it does have that 15-minute SMT fill as well. So with this being said, the bottom of the 10 a.m. candle is getting formed with a 15-minute SMT fill, and it's also a C2. And just with that all being said, this is where I'm looking for us to frame this continuation. We have the SMT in between the 15-minute models, and then we expand away from this SMT, leaving me with this CISD here. So that, with that being said, that's also forming the low of this new 15 and the reversal within this 15 early in the candle. It happened within 3, 6, 9 minutes, right? So this is still has 9 more minutes in this candle in order for us to expand. So I entered on the retap because the closure did not make sense with my stop loss. My stop loss placement was to the SMT fill like this, and then I did have this as your CISD. So that was my first entry here, and with that first entry being like that, I'm gonna make this big screen because fuck, we don't really need to look at YM anymore. I entered here. Oh, I guess so, right. Why as well was I pretty confident in this trade as well is because YM, the weaker asset, the asset setting this SMT, was also reversing price, and it was confirmed with this CISD as well. So if the asset that's setting the SMT wants to go upwards, we can trade the stronger leading asset up to those highs as well, as it's confirming that SMT is going to be considered a valid one, and we can trade away from that level. So with this being said, yes, there's a bunch of stack lows here, but the SMT does protect me, and we should not see this low anymore, and we should be expanding higher. With that being said, now I enter my first position here, knowing that my TP is going to be a little bit more outside of this range, where it's like, okay, cool, it's going to be a harder TP to hit, so I'm going to be looking for a scale in position to try to get on side, and we can leave the same risk, but get in early to try to mitigate like our position size. If I can scale into this and then I can get the TP up to this 2R, then that's where I want to go to. So I put in my first position here. We wait for what? A new 15-minute does open up here, and a 15 does what? An open low, and it expands away. With this open low expansion away, what am I seeing here is a V-shaped reversal and a different phase in price here on the 1 minute time frame. I'm looking at this 1 minute time frame, and I'm looking at accumulation, a manipulation of the new 15-minute candle. So the 15 that I participated in was an accumulation candle, and then we did end up manipulating out, and this is going to be your expansion candle now, as you have that accumulation, the manipulation, and then looking for the distribution. Once that 3-minute candle closed here at 39, I entered in right here. Pretty much, I didn't even wait for the thing, right? But I entered like literally right on these candles closures. Now my average fill, because I had a retap here, because I retapped here, my average fill was just basically the same, and all I did was, instead of leaving it at this low, I dragged it up to the new 15-minute low, which is this manipulation, as I do not want to see this low get impacted anymore because of this V-shaped reversal, AMD, and I wanted to push us up higher. With that being said, I go and long it up to 2R, and then 2R, well, my 2R got hit. I don't know why the fuck it didn't get hit right here. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why my 2R didn't get hit. Maybe I got like a better, maybe it was a little better, but even then, bro, what the fuck? Well, my 2R got hit. I don't know what's going on in here. Let's see if on M and Q it got hit or something. Just that slight difference made it get hit. So my average fill was basically this blue line, and then we can just boom, boom. I don't know. It on my trading view, it's like not even in question type hit. Like that shit fucking drove through that bitch. Oh no, it tiptoed on that fucker. I literally top ticked that. Ain't no way. I literally did top tick. I wasn't at the computer. I was in the bathroom. But yeah, I top ticked the fuck out of that thing. Lit. But yeah, that's basically the trade there. A nice scale in, and then yeah, it was just a scale in and then a trail. Honestly, I don't even think I wait. Did I scale in? Let me look at my executions. Pretty fucking sure I scaled, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you there. Yeah, I scaled in. I scaled in one more position and dragged up my stops. So that way I'm still risking my same 1R amount, and then from there I can drag up my stops to still equal 2R. So now it's as if I entered on this one here. That's all it was. But with that being said, yeah, that's just what it is. I flipped my bias here. Bro, it's kind of a difficult week for me, so this really does bring me back. I'm still down 1R on the week, but I'd rather be down 1R than down 3R, because I was down 3, bro. I've been losing all week, dog. I ain't gonna lie. This week was a little tough for me. Um, I was getting chopped, bro. Like yesterday, I got chopped doing this setup. Monday was I got chopped, and Tuesday, I forgot what happened on Tuesday. I'm not gonna lie. Oh no, I got chopped up on Tuesday too. Yeah, but other than that, decent week. Down 1R on the week, which is fine. Fuck, we're battling. We're getting better every week. Some of the weekly lessons that I inputted for this week was one of the biggest lessons for this week was when I impact a relative level. Like let's say for today, right? This is what I put into practice is when impacting like a relevant level here, especially like a YM or I mean, this is not a good example, but this is still an example. I guess you can say. I guess it is a good example, right? Because when you impact this relative level, you don't want to just jump straight into a trade as this candle is closing very strong or something like that. I mean, it didn't, but that's such a bad example. And this is also such a bad example because these candles didn't close strong. But imagine if this candle closed very full. Don't just jump in on it because this can send price into a different phase to just sweep you out and continue. So that is something that it can save you losses as well, just because that's your possible reversal point, right? Where it could just invalidate your whole setup in itself. So impacting those relative levels, that is something that I learned this week, and it really did. It really did. It costed me an R, so to say. So that was one of the learning lessons for this week. Another learning lesson for this week for me was when YM set the SMT within on Tuesday. This guy. It was this guy's trade here. Oh, it was Wednesday. When YM set this SMT here and it reversed price, obviously we want it to be bearish, right? We want it to be bearish. As you can see, the daily profile open, high, low, close, and we could have possibly seen YM. I wanted to see Wednesday distribute down to here, but it didn't, right? Because of the fact that we did have all of these highs getting swept, and we see that open, high, low, close, we sweep out this level, and I wanted to already start making our way downwards. That didn't happen, and YM actually threw us upwards. And as you can tell, YM set like this SMT here, and NQ did not sweep out this level. So with this SMT and YM going and reversing price off of a relative level, this made my short within NQ here, because I took this short right here. Because why did I take this short as well? Because, well, what did we just talk about, right? Hitting a relative level, what do we want to wait for? Tap into relevant. I'd like to wait for a different phase and price to present itself. The phase and price that presented itself was the sweeping of these highs. Once you got the sweeping of the highs, what is it within? A 15-minute model. What also happened within this 15-minute model, out of this 15-minute gap? Here's your 15-minute gap. And then from that 15-minute gap, we have a 15-minute C2 into expansion is what I was trying to play, as the new 15-minute did open up right here at 9:45. So this is your 15-minute open high. And within 3 minutes, we had a very strong closure through. And I took this first CISD like this. So with this CISD that was located here, I wanted to trade this down to the same low as YM, and a little bit further for 2R, of course, because of that daily open high low close, and we was very obviously going down to the downside. It was so obvious that we wanted to go to all of these. So with that continuation signature, as the 15 is going and showing it's getting respected, that's why I entered there. And we got ran out. But why was that setup considered invalid? Is because LYM, the asset that set that manipulation, was reversing price. And if the asset that sets the manipulation with the SMT, that means this SMT is valid. That means that what? If the SMT is valid, then all assets should go and expand. So my true entry should have been looking for this long, which I did flip my bias after I got stopped out. I was like, okay, so with these strong candle closures, we're obviously long bias. But with that all being said, with us being long bias, price just ripped and didn't give me an entry. So there really wasn't anything else to enter from there. And then price just kind of just fucked around. And I don't want to enter anything all the way that high in the range anymore, right? So it's just not, it's not for me after that, right? And I was looking for what from here is looking for just a 10 a.m. continuation entry, and how would I see it? 10 a.m. open low into these gaps, which is going to be considered a 15-minute gap. And from that 15-minute gap, I would like to trade, or it's not going to be a 15-minute gap, but nonetheless, I would like to trade that 15-minute C2 into expansion, or a 15-minute continuation, or a 3-minute ICISD, shit like that, bro. But other than that, hello? Oh, fuck, my mic wasn't even recording. Whatever. Other than that, that's pretty much it. And I'll catch you guys in the next session. Peace.